from day to day. Science, art, or history's play. No path too twisted, no trail too thin. She dives right in where to begin. Nothing's too obscure. She'll dig and take a spirit so pure. From ancient lore to future dreams, every question finds its gleam. Wherever she goes, answers will follow. Into the depths or up high in the hollow. Curiosity calls. She's ready to find solutions to everything on her mind.
Hello, hello, hello. All right, so I need to make the time at the very end a titch bit shorter and the time at the very front a titch bit longer. I'll get these things figured out. But I think you're actually hearing the whole song now. So we'll see what happens. All right, let's see. I need to get these things set up and then I'm ready to go. I heard that MJ is at work, so I hope you're having a good day, MJ. A lot of people tend to do that, just listen in while they're at work. Apparently, my reading gives a good cadence. So, excuse me, I had a very last minute coffee spill all over the table, so a couple moments late, and I need to taste that. All right. So this is the new setup. I don't know how long this is going to last. There's a few things wrong with it logistically, but I was pushing furniture around the last few days, and this is the best I came up with for now. So there you go. Anyways, we are on chapter 7 today on Behold a Pale Horse, or in Behold a Pale Horse. I did not drop links in Discord because, of course, I would have been doing that, except that I spilled my coffee. Par for the course with me. Yeah, wow. I don't know why it looks like I got a gap tooth. Oh my goodness. And I'm doing that on stream. Anyways, I really don't like this setup, and I'm not even going to drop the links today because I'm so scatterbrained. We'll just see who shows up, if anyone shows up. Anyways, we have chapter 7. If I can get there. Nice. Okay. Now, better switch over there. Hi, you're listening? Good to see you, Sheni. Thank you. That's what I was saying. It sounds like a lot of people like to listen to me read as they work, because I've got a good cadence. So I appreciate that very much. Oh my goodness. Last minute, I will drop links quickly, because if I don't, then I'm going to have a couple people that might be disappointed. Just a couple people. I mean, there's only the few of you guys anyways. But I do appreciate listening to what you have to say about all these things, because it's interesting. And we're just about to head into, this is the Anti-Drug Act. So this is going to be rather interesting. So this is you guys getting to see me doing my job. Doing the job I should have done just a few minutes ago, but doing it now. There we go. And then I copy and paste everything. And there, see, this is the easy bit. Once I've copied and pasted. Oh, here we go. Copy, paste, copy, paste. So what, trying to think, there wasn't really anything major going on in the news. I mean, I heard Kamala actually did another interview, which which didn't go very well, but that's par for the course. What are you guys' thoughts on how this is rounding up this the election? Um, how do you think it's going to go? Are we in for another 4 years of Trump, or do you think they've got the polls reading close enough that they can steal it for Kamala? I mean, ensure that. Oh gosh, I can't. Screw it. Do you think they're going to steal it again, or do you think Trump's going to make it in, or do you think they're going to kill him off totally once and for all beforehand? What are you guys thinking? I've said quite a long time now that if Trump makes it in, then that's proof that he works for a certain. Oh, okay. Yes, that's what I was thinking too, Shenny. Yeah, there's a lot of theft at work happening right now. Yeah. Oh, for Pete's sakes. There we go. Apparently, I go to drop links on my tablet, but I don't always press OK because I'm finding a lot of links to the last stream hanging. Oh, goodness me. Well, no one's ever going to come to the things if I don't drop links and say that it's happening, right? But when I drop links and say that it's happening, I got to make sure that I hit the right enter. So it doesn't just sit and hang in the messages part. Oh my goodness. Uh, that's par for the course with me. Oh. But yeah, so I'm of the opinion that well, yeah. I always said 50-50. They're going to kill Trump or he wins, but he's going to be just as bad, just as dirty as everyone else. I know he works for a certain famous family that runs the banking cartel. I do know that for a fact. But what I'm curious about is whether they're going to be able to knock him off beforehand. Because that's the way things look from public opinion. He's in. They don't even. Well, no, they always need to hold an election, but public opinion that I've seen is Trump all the way. So even the diehard liberals, Democrats, even they're seeing just how crappy the world is with these people in power. So I would like to think that Trump's going to come in and he's going to continue to herald in the one world order because he's working on one of those teams. But I think he wants it to be one world order run under the American principles, as in the Constitution. And even the faction of globalists that he works for, they don't want that. So I don't know if he's going to make it, honestly. It would be lovely if he could, but I don't think they're going to give it to him. Whether they have to knock him off, it's starting to look that way because you can fudge the polls and then you can steal an election. But you can't fudge or you can't make people think the polls are what you're saying they are if everyone out on the street is not in agreement, right? So I don't know. I don't think either which way, I don't think they can afford to let Trump in again, which is, I guess, my end point. Um, just a couple more here. Oh, there. Well, at least some of mine I hit enter on for the last stream. Uh, okay. I know. Dead air, dead air, dead air. I am so sorry. I am not a professional at this. uh, there we go. Last one. Good. Okay. So sorry about that. I forgot. It's been years since I used this kitchen table for anything other than the house plants. So I forgot just how easy it is to bump this table and how rickety it is. Like it's not. It's totally solid, but it's shaky, and every time you just nudge a leg, everything goes, including a cup of coffee. But there you go. What can you do? That's not the book. That's my notebook. That's the book. All right. So maybe I can get a friend to show me how to edit, and I can cut all that bit out. Chapter 7, the Anti-Drug Abuse Act of 1988. It's known as H.R. 5210 PL 100-690, Preparation for the Police State, an Analysis. Just before we go on, I want to remind everyone, not my words, it's the words of the author, William Cooper. The book was written in 91. So when he's talking about right now, that's a long time ago. And when he's talking about certain people in certain positions, that is not the way it is now. So, it's kind of interesting to see just how much different, better or worse it is for it. So HR 5210 PL 100-690. Public Law 100-690, which was introduced to the 100th Congress as HR 5210, passed by Congress in September 1988 and signed by the President on November 18, 1988, is the most serious attack upon the freedoms guaranteed to the citizens of the Republic of the United States of America in our Constitution since the formation of the Federal Reserve and the IRS. The act may be cited as the Anti-Drug Abuse Act of 1988. The following titles are contained within the act. Title 1, Coordination of National Drug Policy. Title 2, Treatment and Prevention Programs. Title 3, Drug Education Programs. Title 4, International Narcotics Control. Title 5, User Accountability. Title 6, Anti-Drug Abuse Amendments Act of 1988. Title 7, Death Penalty and Other Criminal and Law Enforcement Matters. Title 8, Federal Alcohol Administration. Title 9 is Miscellaneous, and Title 10 is the Supplemental Appropriations. That's you. Hi, Christine. How you doing? So, The Anti-Drug Abuse Act of 1988 can be found in most college or city libraries, contained in the U.S. Code Congressional and Administrative News, Volume 3, 1988, with amendments and voting information in the Congressional Quarterly Almanac, Volume 10, 100, 114. See, I did that Roman numeral math. 114, 1988. The law looks innocent enough upon first glance, containing new drug awareness treatment programs, more law enforcement, and much stricter penalties, and all to be financed with a $2.1 billion budget. Upon close examination, however, I discovered some really scary stuff tucked in where most citizens would never look. And that's how they do it. They were doing it all the way back then. They're professional at it now. And yeah, let's see how they started. The act is some 366 pages of fine, in brackets, very fine print on very small pages. It is tedious reading, as is all legislation. In fact, it was impossible to read until Nancy Batchelder, a volunteer on my research staff, enlarged each page on a copy machine. Could it be that the Congress does not want the citizens to read the contents of their legislation? I believe that's exactly the case. One of the most frightening aspects of this legislation was the proposal to allow evidence found in a warrantless search. Congress said illegally obtained evidence is legal to use in drug cases. Months later, the Senate said no, and that portion of the legislation was removed. Or at least that is what we were meant to think. That sounds like a certain Windows program I was just told they got caught out on, so they removed it, but now they've replaced it again on the down low, a replay or something. Either way, watching what you're buying and talking about and all that stuff. Everyone got mad, so they shut it off. But now they're forcing everyone to take Windows 11, and on the download, they've turned it back on for Windows 11. So they're listening, which means they're listening. So hi, Microsoft, you guys, you suck butt. And thank you for letting me use your stuff. The act leaves a loophole for court decisions on some mass searches or drug tests, such as school lockers, requirement for certain jobs, and an experimental program for those getting their first driver's license, Section 9005. Pardon me. Keywords here are mass searches / drug tests, jobs, and driver's license. The courts have held that if the citizens give up any right by giving what is called implied consent, then they no longer have claim to that right. The dangerous implication here is that mass search could mean the search of every person in, say, Chicago, Los Angeles, or New York City. Get the picture? The proposed legislation contained a section that, if passed, would have taken away our right to trial by jury, and specifically stated that you could be held guilty without trial. How could any citizen or representative or senator ever have had the guts to propose such a thing for passage into law in this country? Fortunately, it was removed by amendment. However, in some cases, a trial isn't automatic. You must request a hearing. Section 6480. Do I have your attention yet? $10,000 is the maximum fine for knowingly possessing any amount of a drug of any kind, even the kind that an enemy might plant in your car or home, as per Section 6480. Congress has asked for a study on the relationship between mental illness and substance abuse, Section 2071. Congress has recommended changes for involuntary commitment to for mental illness, which echoes the Russian NKGB model, Section 2072A. The secret power structure considers patriotism and nationalism to be mental illness. Congress has asked for an evaluation of the appropriateness of administering health service programs in conjunction with biomedical and behavioral research. In other words, mind control on a grand scale, Section 2073A. The Congress ordered in this act that the Attorney General shall study the feasibility of prosecuting federal drug-related offenses in a matter alternative or supplemental to the current criminal justice system. This is the beginning of a police state. Section 6293. The Act states that anyone with intent to obstruct or harass the harvesting of timber on public lands can get 1 year in jail or up to 10 years if the resultant damage exceeds $10,000. Tree spiking is specifically named. What is this doing in a drug law? It's in there because Congress wanted to make an end run around the environmental groups and give the timber away. Section 6254/1864. Herbicides are to be used for aerial coca eradication with no consideration of what it might do to the humans or animals being sprayed. After a year of spraying, the President shall determine if such use is harmful to the environment or health and shall file a report, as per Section 4202. The Act mandates that the establishment of a world currency control system. This would be an international database to analyze currency transactions filed by member countries in order to monitor large $10,000 or more dollar transfers. To encourage teamwork, prohibit non-cooperative foreign countries from participating in any U.S. dollar clearing or wire transfer system, or from maintaining any financial accounts in the U.S., as per Section 4701. The Act gives the Secretary of the Treasury power to require any transaction records from any domestic financial institution, even those not part of the bank/savings and loan system, as well as information on all of the persons involved. Make sure you understand what this means to you personally. This is a police state, as per Section 6184/5326. Holy cat fur. The Constitution of the United States, Article 1, Section 9, Paragraph 2 states, the privilege of the writ of habeas corpus shall not be suspended unless when in cases of rebellion or invasion the public safety may require it. Public Law 100-690, Section 7323, provides for a special committee on habeas corpus review of capital sentences, appointed by the Chief Justice of the United States. The purpose of the special committee is to recommend to the Chief Justice of the United States, who will forward the recommendation to the Chairman of the Committee on the Judiciary of the Senate, a proposal of a bill to modify federal habeas corpus procedure. Quotes from Public Law 100-690. This bill to modify habeas corpus procedure must be reported with or without recommendation by the Committee on the Judiciary of the Senate by the end of the 60th day of session. After the submission of the report, or the bill must be automatically placed on the appropriate calendar of the Senate. Once the habeas corpus bill is on the calendar, it is not debatable. It is not subject to a motion to postpone, reconsideration of the vote by which the motion is agreed to or disagreed to shall not be in order under this act. Only one portion in the Senate shall be in order pursuant to this paragraph, and such motions shall be decided by roll call vote. So the author says, sit up and take notice. Section 7323 states that this habeas corpus legislation is enacted by Congress as an exercise of the rulemaking power of the Senate, and as such, it is deemed as part of the rules of the Senate. Can you believe this treason? Chapter 33 of Title 28 United States Code is amended by adding at the end thereof Section 540, which states that the Attorney General and the Federal Bureau of Investigation may investigate felonious killings of officials and employees of a state or political subdivision when such investigation is requested by the head of the agency employing the official or employee killed, and under such guidelines as the Attorney General or his designee might establish. Notice that the above paragraph does not say by invitation of the state, but says by the policing agency. Once the feds are involved, they always hold jurisdiction, and this is serious. It could establish the legal precedents for justification of a police state once the courts rule that the states have given up their right to jurisdiction under this act. Notice that it only involves crimes of a political nature. Businesses are required to report all cash transactions of $10,000 or more, as per Section 7601-6501-IRS. It has been reported to me, but not verified by me, that this requirement has been lowered to $3,000. This has nothing to do with drugs, but has everything to do with the IRS. The Act establishes a requirement to record and verify the ID of a purchaser of a money order or other financial instrument of $3,000 or more. Section 6184/5325. Why? This is the big one. The Act orders a study to be made on whether to withdraw $100 bills and $50 bills from circulation. Section 6187. This would virtually propel us into a cashless society. $23 million has been allocated for a machine-readable identity document program. This is back in 1988. And this money was allocated long before 88. $23 million has been allocated for a machine-readable identity document program. The excuse used is to be able to identify known criminals who attempt to cross borders. The type of border is not named or required in legislation, or which is required in legislation, and could be the border of your city, county, or state. It also raises the question of how they are going to get the criminals to accept the identity document program without requiring all citizens to participate. Section 4604. This data pool will be shared by Drug Enforcement Administration, the FBI, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, the IRS, the Federal Aviation Commission, the U.S. Marshals Service, and the U.S. Coast Guard. The Act requires a study of the feasibility of requiring aircraft to carry operating transponders so that they can be tracked, as per Section 7212, including the intercept, where the use of military aircraft is assumed due to the fact that the military is the only agency which has such a capability. So the Act requires a study of the feasibility of requiring aircraft to carry operating transponders so that they can be tracked, including the intercept of any aircraft not in a proper flight corridor. Section 7213. The Act requires a study to be made on requiring onboard monitoring devices on commercial motor vehicles to record speed, driving time, and other information, which is Section 9101. It further requires the utilization of existing government laboratory facilities, such as the Departments of Defense, Justice, Energy, National Security Agency, the CIA, and the FBI, to develop technologies for federal law enforcement, not limited to drug enforcement. Section 6163 and 7605. This would include night vision, Fort Belvoir, Virginia, ground sensor and communications electronics at Fort Monty, Jersey, physical electronic security, Hanscom Field, Massachusetts, imaging electronic surveillance, CIA and NSA, Washington, D.C., chemical/biosensor research and development in Aberdeen, Maryland, chemical/molecular research in Albuquerque, New Mexico, physical/electronic surveillance and tracking in FBI, Washington, D.C., and explosives ordnance detection, Indian Head, Maryland. The act calls for the expenditure of $120 million for the Bureau of Justice Statistics, a national clearinghouse of data from federal, state, and local criminal justice agencies, Section 6092. Grant money will be made available for state and local agencies to hook into the data system, Section 6101/1301. Gun sellers will have to check for a buyer's police record, Section 6213. The Act includes a special note from the Attorney General to include domestic violence information in the system, Section 7609. My sources have informed me that the New World Order plans to execute any person who has exhibited any degree of violence during their life. A fistfight while in the service would qualify you. They believe that violence is hereditary, and this could mean the execution of family members as well. Hello, Hobo. How you doing? You've been to the Aberdeen Proving Grounds. It's a weird place. So is MacDill Air Force in Tampa. Okay. They've got a lot of interesting places. There's a friend of mine, Jude. I haven't seen her around in a long time, but Jude, she she came up through the 70s and 80s in the Army, and she's got some really horrible stories that she can tell. Very, very tested on, and not by her will at all. And she's got so many health issues, not to mention the PTSD. She's got a lot that she's still going through, and she's been out of the service for a very long time now. So if she ever listens to this, hi Jude, I miss you. I hope you're doing well. But yeah, she can tell horror stories. Hobo says, I was in tons of fights when I was in the Army. Yeah, I'm not surprised. Hello, Kim. How you doing? You're listening in Nevada? Right on. Hobo says, I was a terrible soldier. Yeah, I never even considered joining up. I knew I wouldn't make it. I can totally follow orders, but I am so unphysically fit. Yeah, I wouldn't have made it through basic training. So, remember that they're thinking violence is hereditary. So they're thinking about execution of family members as well. This act calls for a study of the feasibility of establishing an international criminal court, or world court, Section 4108. An international criminal court would have no jurisdiction or authority over any citizen of the United States of America unless we surrender our sovereignty to the New World Order. And that's where all the little things come in. Different, at least in Canada, we've got so many different bills that give little bits of power to the UN or other foreign governments that we don't actually have control over our land. And I don't think a lot of Canadians realize that. There are so many little bits and bobs that have been put into major, huge acts and just hidden. And we have no idea it's going to happen until they decide to declare the next emergency and they enact all of them at once. And that's going to be a scary day. So no weapons are to be allowed in federal buildings, up to 1 year imprisonment for carrying a weapon into any federal facility. The only exception is a pocket knife, but only if the blade is less than 2.5 inches long, Section 6215. The act has authorized postal authorities to serve warrants, subpoenas, make arrests, carry firearms, and make seizures in matters involving the use of mails, Section 6251. The Post Office Department is a private corporation and is not a part of the federal government. How can they be allowed to function as federal police if they are not federalized? Are post office employees destined to become a part of the national police force? It is now illegal to mail or send locksmithing equipment to anyone but a locksmith, as per Section 3002. Many common tools can be classified as locksmithing equipment. The Act legalizes the arming of aircraft in other countries for defensive purposes in drug control, Section 4202. Say again. If this had been in existence a few years ago, the Iran-Contra affair would have been legal, with only a statement that the arms were for defensive purposes in drug control. The Act mandates that military installations are to be used as mental treatment centers or prison camps with work programs, Section 7302 and 2081/561. Does this sound like Russia? In addition, $200 million will go for new prisons, Section 6157, plus the proceeds from seized and forfeited property are to be used for the construction of prisons, rewards for information or help, or for other things the Attorney General need not report, as per Section 6072/524, Title 20-CIA-H. The Act states that prison industries may borrow and invest funds, Section 7093. Prison industries may diversify their products and produce products on an economic basis, Section 7096. To provide a labor pool, Soviet Union style, it authorizes a study of the feasibility of requiring prisoners to pay their costs for food, housing, and shelter at paid employment before, during, or after imprisonment, Section 7301. In other words, it means imprisonment Soviet style presented in what sounds like a nice idea. A labor camp where men and women are worked to death is only that and nothing more or less, no matter what they call it or how attractive they make it sound. Prisons going into business to produce products on an economic basis can only serve to destroy the last remnants of small business. This law is 366 pages of very small print. I am sure that as carefully as I read it, I still must have missed many other terrible clauses. Congressmen have Congressmen have been known to deny knowledge of this law, and some have stated that it does not exist because they are terrified of the public finding out what they have done. When I first warned the nation about this legislation on talk radio across the country, the government pulled all copies not already in public hands. The government states there are no copies available, and there will not be any copies available. This act is too large to include in this book. You will find it in your library, though, exactly as I have stated at the beginning of this chapter. Please look it up yourself to verify that it is indeed real. And then his sources are Public Law 100-690, U.S. Code Congressional and Administrative News, Volume 3, 1988, with amendment and voting information in the Congressional Quarterly Almanac, Volume, 154, 1988. I'm glad that I can still do that with the Roman numerals. Hobo says you were a terrible soldier. Yep. She left for the down under, says Shenny. Kim says you sound like my brother. Endless fights when he was in the Navy. And Hobo says I was a peacekeeper in both Bosnia and Kosovo. I've seen how the UN and their Smurf helmets deal with things. They watched while people were killing each other. Yeah, I have heard awful things about them. And like I said, they have, over the decade, we can't blame everything on Trudeau. He is a turd. He's done horrible, horrible things to my country, but he is not the one who started it all. In fact, some of the worst stuff to have happened in Canadian legislation happened by the the conservative government, I'm so bad with names, but the conservative government was in control, and they passed, I believe it was a censorship thing, um, and Trudeau actually um, part of his platform was the fact that, well, don't worry, guys, just okay it through the parliament, and then when we get into power, we'll do the amendments, we'll fix everything up, we'll take out that bad stuff, and don't you worry. But of course, they never did. They've just been building on it ever since. It was the framework from which all the new censorship laws have been built upon. Um, and that's just not even 20 years. So governments have been doing this for a very, very long time. They write out bills and legislation that they're so wordy, 366 pages. It shouldn't need to be that long, and it shouldn't need to be enlarged, photocopied and enlarged so that you can actually read it. And I know that you guys in particular are having trouble right now with the House trying to pass bills that have so much stuff in it that has nothing to do with what the bill is supposed to be dealing with. It's just crazy. And they've been doing it for decades. They've been doing it for generations. So, yeah, this is we have to remember this act that we just read about was 1988. So think of all the amendments and all the little bits and bobs they've added to that since. That was a great framework on which they could base eventually your Patriot Act. Without this act, they would have had a much harder time building or coming out with the Patriot Act, right? Everything's a frame, and everything. Got to remember the New World Order. They work. They're playing the long game, like they're playing the generation game. So they're okay with taking the time and building up the framework to get to where we are now. Serbian forces were actually worth winning. There were different factions. We didn't know who the bad guys were. Well, and that's the problem with these wars now. Rumors of boots on the ground from Western countries. It's scary. These are not our wars. We should not be a part of them. And in my personal opinion, at least insofar as this specific argument in between Russia and Ukraine over the Donbass and other places that wanted to become their own republics, Russia's in the right in this one. Us Western countries are fighting for Ukraine. Ukraine are the Nazis, dudes. Like, I cannot understand how people don't see that yet. Ukrainians are the Nazis. Not all Ukrainians. They're not all evil. But the people fighting this fight, the people in control of Ukraine, they're the Nazis. And they wear it with pride and they speak it with pride. And yet our governments want us to think that we're in the right fighting alongside them to take out the horrible Russian. Russia didn't get involved at all until after 8 years of continuous bombing of the Donbass and other areas, simply because they voted to separate from Ukraine and become their own republic. They didn't want to be Russia. They didn't want to leave Ukraine and become Russia. They wanted to be their own little republics, kind of like border republics. But they weren't allowed to do that. They had the referendums. They got the results they wanted. And then the people in charge of Ukraine came in and killed them. I've watched the documentaries. I have seen the interviews. What happened to those people from 2014 on was horrendous. And 2014 was just the start of the actual bombardment of bombing and whatnot. of the real fighting. As far back as 2008 is when these referendums were first started being had or being held. So this is almost 20 years of fighting, and it took Russia until a couple of years ago to finally stand up and say enough's enough. And even at that point, they weren't incurring into Ukraine. They were simply backing up the DPR. They were just backing up, helping these republics to protect their republics. That's it. Ukraine has been the one in the wrong this entire time, and we are allowing it. Our governments are a part of it, and by default, we are a part of it. And I can't understand how more people don't understand that we're fighting. We're the baddies, for crying out loud, people. We're the baddies. Can we not just stop for a minute? And the Israel and everything that's going on in Lebanon, it's all ridiculous. It has nothing to do with us, and we should not be involved. We should not be funding it. We should not be fighting it. We should not be training people how to fight it. We just need to get out. And that's my opinion. I'm going to stick to it. AP says we have T9 pass. We have T9 pass it. Oops. Comments going to know what's in it. Oh, okay. I see. Oh, it looks like we're having a quick commercial break. What do I add you? Okay.
Hello, everybody. Just in the event that, I don't know, let's say using the Yahtzee word vacates the YouTube channel, please remember we're also to be able to find this lovely little woman over
I will drop that right
on the Rumble. So not only that, but because she is so new and unaccustomed to running with it without someone like me, remember, you can buy her a coffee over here, okay? So drop her a coffee every now and then. And hi, Sammy. I love seeing you here, baby. I'm so glad that you're here. So anyway, everybody, I just wanted to pop in and say that in the meantime. Hey, Linda. Hey, Sammy. Hey, AP. Hey, Hobo. Can I go back to work or no? Let me see. What else do you need me?
I think that's
a commercial break. I really love the whole conversation, but we just had a few things. So I'm out. That's the end of the commercial. Have a good one.
Thank you for that commercial break. I got to get back over here, and there we go. Thank you, Shetty. Yeah, like I said when I first started doing this, I'm speaking my mind. Well, first off, I'm reading the words as written in here. I used to really enjoy the wordplay of trying to find different words that to say the naughty things that YouTube doesn't like. But that got old. So I just say the words that need to be said. And yeah, because of that, if sometimes YouTube might get angry and upset and just say, nope, can't let her say that. And so I've pinned it in the top of the chat there. You can just go on over to Rumble and we'll still be live there because Rumble doesn't have such sensitive feelings about such things. Hello, says Linda, just a little late. No worries. I forgot to drop links and everything. Well, I didn't forget. I spilled coffee all over the table. And so I didn't have time to drop links until after the stream had started. So there's a little bit of dead air and stuff. So that's okay. We were all kind of a little bit late. Hobo says Yuri Bezmenov warned us about communist think tanks devising a long-term destruction of the United States and psychological warfare. Hobo, I have got that I've got one of his videos. I've got the there's the one when he's in his uniform. He's standing outside. There's a fountain right behind him. So he's still in the USSR. He had not defected yet. and he's discussing exactly that. And then there's another one where he's sitting in some sort of looks like kind of a talk show setup. There's the host and him sitting, that era, everyone's smoking cigarettes with their wide bottomed trousers, not bell bottoms, but still wide bottomed. But yeah, Yuri had a lot of stuff to say, and he was right. If we go back and listen, he was right. There's an awful lot of people. Sammy, I told you I moved the furniture around. I told you I flipped absolutely everything. So I'm actually sitting at the table that used to be in the background with all the houseplants and stuff on it. The TV's up here, the tower's right there. I'm hoping that the camera will stay balanced as it is, because it works pretty good. But now you can see the other half of my house, and then from this point over is the kitchen. It's relatively tidy, but you guys don't need to see it. So eventually, though, this is going to have to change again because there's a few technical things that just don't work. I cannot see the TV to watch and listen to the show that I'm watching while I'm outside on the deck when it's sitting here. So that's not going to work for me. I think I'm going to have to invest in an actual desk and a proper chair. But the place is so small. There's really nowhere to put more furniture. So we'll see. But yes, I did. I flipped everything. I even got a new rug, the blue rug in front of the couch. That's brand spanking new, and it's so soft. Oh my goodness. So Sammy's saying my ears were bleeding. What, am I reading or at all the horrible words I was saying? Kim says, I certainly don't understand the Ukraine situation. If you're into that sort of thing, the best documentary series about it is The Roses Have Thorns. Plural roses, plural thorns. There's multiple parts to it, but it shows you what really happened, and it starts from right back, probably 2006 or 7, right as they're leading up to these referendums and what happened to the people who were protesting for their right to become a separate republic. It's violent and it's hard to watch. You get to watch them, the Nazis. You watch them burn down a like a city courthouse sort of building with people inside. They go room to room, killing everyone. A woman and her 2 children got caught up in it. I don't think they were even attending the rally. She was just walking with her kids in the square when everything went down, and she kind of ran with the rest of the crowd to hide in the building. They killed her and her kids. They set people on fire, and when people were climbing out onto the window ledges to get away from the fire, they'd shoot them. It's horrendous, but it tells the real story. And anyone who doesn't understand what's going on in Ukraine, if you can stomach it, The Roses Have Thorns series is the best exclamation, and it shows you how everything happened, and you can see the which ones are paid actors. You can see the same faces in the crowds again and again. The Ray Epses, it's sad and it's disgusting, but it's the truth. It's what really happened, and it's on the ground coverage. Also, if you want to see news perspective from someone who lives in the Donbass, Patrick Lancaster, he has been reporting on the situation for as long as there's been a situation. I think he went down there. I think he was already there in 2008, 2009. His wife he met in Ukraine in the Donbass area that they live in. He married her. They've had kids. He's been reporting from their perspective, not Russia's perspective, but from the people of these republics. He's been reporting from their perspective on the ground with their military all along. He is now, for the last year or so, he's been reporting from the front lines, going with the Russians and the DPR. He's basically a part of their team now. But he shows you everything. He in one of his videos, he introduced us to a woman and her two children who were both, the eldest was 8 years old. I can't remember how much younger the other one was, but the 8-year-old had spent its entire life living in the bomb shelter underneath the school because the building that his parents lived in had been bombed out years and years ago. So they ran to this bomb shelter, and that bomb shelter became their home their entire lives. These children have never known anything but that shelter. And that's because of what the Ukraine's been doing to their own people, just because they wanted to separate. So it's a sad, scary situation, but we are not being told the truth about it. If you want to see the truth, if you want to see frontline action, Patrick Lancaster is the man to go see. He's on YouTube and all the other platforms. At one point, the soldiers, they adopt the random animals that once were pets, who've been left behind for whatever reason, however it happens. There's kittens and cats having kittens in the bomb shelters. Patrick actually rescues one kitten. He was in a shelter with the military. It wasn't a bomb shelter. It was an outpost. But he was interviewing guys, and one of the kittens, an orange kitten, just wouldn't leave him alone. Climbed up all the way up his leg and up here, and it was sitting on his shoulder and purring away. He ended up taking it home to his wife and kids. Just rescuing this adorable orange kitten. But that's just it. He shows you the real life. He interviews the people who live in those regions, and who have been living through it all this time. So you get to hear it from the words of the people living in it, not just whatever side's government wants you to hear. So, yeah, Patrick Lancaster is very, very good. Hobo says, I've seen at least 3 people with Azov battalion stickers that say, I stand with Ukraine. They have no idea at all. It's like the Queers for Palestine. Are you serious? Do you really think that if you were to go down to Palestine right now and go marching, do you really think anyone on either side would want to do anything other than kill you? Because that's it. That's all they'd want to do. They don't care who you're cheering for. You're queer. You're dead. That's what it's like over there. Not just Palestine, but Middle East. That's what it's like. And these people have absolutely no idea what the real world is all about. Dom says, hello, Dom. Dom says, the problem is citizens allowing governments to do these things. When you weigh a politician or government law enforcement with lead, they quit doing bad stuff. Well, you're right. You are 100% right. One of those problems, though, is like we just read in this act, the Anti-Drug Abuse Act of 1988, and with many other acts before and since, they slide in lots of extra stuff into an act. Like this is the Anti-Drug Abuse Act, right? But they're talking about prison labor camps, putting into law that, talking about businesses are now being forced to report cash transactions over $10,000. They're giving power to everyone who doesn't deserve it. And they're writing it into these bills in tiny little small print. here, I'll go back here. The Constitution of the United States, Article 1, Section 9, Paragraph 2 states, the privilege of the writ of habeas corpus shall not be suspended unless when in cases of rebellion or invasion, the public safety may require it. Public Law 100-690, Section 7323, provides for a special committee on habeas corpus review of capital sentences appointed by the Chief Justice of the United States. The purpose of the special committee is to recommend to the Chief Justice of the United States, who will forward the recommendation to the chairman of the Committee on the Judiciary of the Senate, a proposal of a bill to modify federal habeas corpus procedure. This bill to modify habeas corpus procedure must be reported with or without recommendation by the Committee on the Judiciary of the Senate by the end of the 60th day of session after the submission of the report, or the bill must be automatically placed on the appropriate calendar of the Senate. So once that habeas corpus bill was put on the calendar, it's no longer debatable. It's not subject to a motion to postpone for reconsideration of the vote by which the motion is agreed to or disagreed to, and it shall not be in order under this act. Only one motion in the Senate shall be in order pursuant to this paragraph, and such motion shall be decided by a roll call vote. So that's exactly what happened. That's what they did. They put the bill to modify habeas corpus on there, and it must be reported with or without recommendation within 60 days of submission. Otherwise, it's automatically placed in the appropriate calendar. And that's what happened. It was automatically placed in the appropriate calendar. So now we don't need to vote. We don't need to do anything. It's put in automatically. So now they have the ability to modify habeas corpus. What does that have to do with Anti-Drug Act? What on earth, where does that have anything to do with drugs? There was also a bit about patriotism and nationalism can be considered mental illness. Congress has asked for an evaluation of the appropriateness of administrating health service programs in conjunction with biomedical and behavioral research. And the Congress ordered in this act that the Attorney General shall study the feasibility of producing federal drug-related offenses in a matter alternative or supplemental to the current criminal justice system. So the act states that anyone with intent to obstruct or harass the harvesting of timber on public lands can get 1 year in jail or up to 10 years if the resultant damage exceeds $10,000. So it's specifically naming tree spiking. But what on earth does that have to do with a drug act? Absolutely nothing. But it gave them a runaround, other laws, so that they could then give the timber away, getting around the environmental activists. So that's how they do it. They put little bits of things inside these huge, thick documents on a bill that's supposed to be for drug stuff, but they're putting in stuff that gives them the right to make a runaround play on the laws, letting them get rid of the timber that they want to without having to worry about the environmental people anymore. And that's just one example in this one act, and that act was in 1988. So it's not necessarily that the citizens are allowing the government to do these things. It's the fact that the government is throwing all these little bits and bobs into these huge bloated acts that have nothing to do with what the act is supposed to have anything to do with. But they throw them in there, which gives them little end runs around other laws so that they can continue to do what they were doing. It was talking about one law that was put into this act. Where is it? Iran-Contra. Nope. Okay, I can't find the Iran Contra bit, but basically they tried the Iran Contra thing. See, I've said that so many times now. Yeah. Rumble link is there. They tried it and it didn't work. So they learned from it and they wrote stuff into this anti-drug act so that it was legal for them to do. So the next time they could do it without breaking any laws. But that shouldn't have, it shouldn't have happened, except that it was buried in a whole bunch of legalese in a 366-page act that was printed so small that they had to have one of their researchers got the bright idea of enlarging and re-photocopying, because you got to remember 88 people don't have tablets. You can't just expand and whatnot. It doesn't work like that. So but they had to do that. They had to blow it up, take a picture and blow up the picture and then copy that just so that people could read it to do the studying for this book. Oh, AP says 2 pass. Okay, your hand. No worries. 2 pass it. Hobo saying, how about 1930s German social club? How about it? Yeah. Oh, there's my YouTube thing. Dom is saying Germans were good on shooting clubs too. Yes, and Sammy's laughing. And Linda's saying, love you, Shani. I know, Shani's awesome. Hobo says, okay, let me help you out. I'm a master at it. Oh, the words. I was really good at it, and I used to have a lot of fun at it, but now I'm just tired. It used to be a lot of fun, and I have a very large vocabulary. I don't use it anymore, but I do have one. And it was fun pulling out different words to make things. One of the things I loved most, not mine at all, the creator, Sydney Watson, I heard it from her. But instead of the PDF file, before PDF file was an idea, she would say fans of the playground. And I always thought that was a nice fancy way of getting around the YouTube censorship things. Oh, Shani says, forgot to say hi to me. Hello. Hobo says, should look up the anti-human occurrence which happened between 1930 to the end of World War II, the things they did in Eastern Europe beyond barbaric. The anti-human occurrence. I haven't heard of that specifically. I do know. And yeah, and it wasn't all just the Nazis either. Like we can't say that they were the only baddies. There was evil things being done by all participants in that war. Well, most likely in all wars, but yeah, there was. I mean, Hitler was a big fan of the occult and magic. He was trying so hard to find the Ark of the Covenant. The demonology, it's very scary. We do a series, Mystery Babylon, and it's like the other ancient language, or ancient religion rather. Basically Satanism, Luciferianism, any of those, devil worshiping, or worshiping yourself as a god yourself, all those type of faiths come out of that Mystery Babylon religion. Doesn't it all look great? I don't know. I'm not set on this. Linda says we called them flare jeans. I preferred bell bottoms. Oh yes, I I have worn my fair share of bell bottoms. I love flares, at the very least a boot cut. But yeah, I love my flare jeans. I got a few pairs of them still. I got a couple of bell bottoms as well, and my wide leg, 2000s raver, wide leg pants. I've still got a pair of those too. It's ridiculous. I can't believe I used to run around in them. Oh no, I did not sleep on the new rug last night. I went in because I still had to clean up while I was doing all this in my house, in the front half of my house. My bedroom is behind that wall behind me, and I had to put a bunch of stuff in there to get it out of the way while I cleaned and moved stuff around in here. So while I was busy in here, my girls thought, this is interesting. We can actually climb up the stuff piled in the bedroom and get up into the top shelf of the closet. So one of them tried to do that and ended up pulling all of the bedding, all of my spare quilts, everything down. And so I went in there late last night to put away the bedding, and then I just went the last couple steps into bed. But that rug, oh my goodness, it's dangerous with socks on. It's so slippy, but it is so soft and so comfortable. Oh my goodness. I've never had a rug that soft. Like I could roll right up in it. It's awesome. Dom says boot flare just accommodates the tops of boots. Bell bottoms cover the entire foot shoe. Yeah, I flares are about all I can find anymore. But yeah, I had my bell bottoms, which covered everything. And they were extra long because you have to wear well, I didn't wear platforms. I was a teenager in the 90s. So I wore my Doc Marten boots, but they had thick soles. So yeah, they had to go down all the way around the Doc Marten boot, which meant that they would get walked on and trampled on. And of course, as a teenager, didn't have a driver's license yet, so we're walking everywhere. So halfway up the back of each pant leg was always like wet and muddy because it's always raining on the coast. Oh, good times. Sammy says, I slept on it, Shenny, and it was painful. AP says, Ukraine summed up. Some areas voted no not be Ukraine. Some of said areas looked to Russia for help. Russia helped and incurred the wrath of corrupt politicians. Yep. Sammy says, I only care about who they don't like. Yes. And he also says, I'm not a fan of Lincoln. AP says Palestine as a country has not existed since the fall of the Roman Empire. It's Gaza. The people are Gazan, not Palestinian. And honestly, I don't even care. I don't care who they are or what they call themselves. It's not our business. We should not be in there. Hello, King Kong. How you doing? Sammy says, psst, did you? Stop. What I didn't say. I'm trying to, you know what? Here. I didn't say that word, but I did beforehand, and it's sitting right there, and I will be once the show is over. King Kong says the government is bought and paid for by big corporations. For example, the tobacco companies made sure opium went bye-bye. Yep. Look at BlackRock and Vanguard. And what's the other one? Similar to BlackRock. It sounds very similar to it. There's 2 or 3 of them that are, if you actually look into them, they're umbrella corps. They have some sort of control over every single aspect of human existence. Everything we eat or drink or wear or use, everything we listen to, everything we watch, everything they've got their fingers in. And it's very interesting if you want to deep dive into those corporations. It's very time consuming, and there's a lot of minutia that you have to go through, but it's interesting to see just how much control they have over the daily existence of a human being. Oh, Sammy. By the way, I just made you a sound drop. Okay, I will go and check it. AP says Japan was the worst. They're why we know how much water is in the human body. Yes, they were vicious. Very vicious. Platforms were ankle breakers. Yes. Yeah, no, I never did the platforms. I think wedges were the closest we got in the 90s, and wedges really weren't that tall. Japan, that's okay. I got you, Japan. No worries. Yeah, you should see me when I get up and walk right now. It's from about the waist down, I move like I'm 91. It's pretty funny right now. But yeah, I shuffled all the furniture around and then I didn't get it done, so I had to finish it. But I didn't like the way I had it, so then I had to move it all again. So I'm a hurting unit. But it is nice. As much as I don't like this setup in the long run, it is very nice because I've not sat at my kitchen table in nearly a decade. It's been nothing but a houseplant table for a very long time. It was nice to be able to sit and eat my cereal at a table properly for a change. You know, little things amuse small minds, right? Shenny says, I wore platforms and the 6-inch heels. I got to cover my feet in my shoes with my pants because I was that short. Advantage, my boots stayed clean when I walked in the dirt. Fair enough. Yeah, no, I never ever did heels. I can do a kitten heel. I love a really sweet pair of Mary Janes with a little kitten heel, but I've never even an inch, 2 inches. I cannot do it. I have one pair of Michael Kors shoes. I love them to bits. They're a 2-inch spike heel. I think I've worn them maybe 5 times since I bought them 10, 12 years ago. But they're so adorable that I still keep them just in case. Oh, Sammy's going, oh no, I did a bong rip and I regret it. Uh-oh. AB says, I have a cold, so my body is functioning at 5% right now. Aw, I'm sorry, AP. It's that time of year, isn't it? It got cold and wet. It's not frozen this far yet. Well, you're closer to Mighty, so you are different. I was mistaking you with someone else for a minute in Washington. Sammy did a perfect spit take, and now you have to clean your monitor. It serves you right. You've made me spit take I don't know how many times. I actually asked if someone could make a spit take emoji because you were doing it to me so often. So serves you right. Karma's a bitch, baby. Now go clean the monitor. Oh man. So yeah, that was chapter 7. Let's see, how is chapter 8? Are the sheep ready to shear? Oh goodness. Are the sheep ready to shear? It's got 1 page. So let's do that. We'll do chapter 8 in this one as well, because it's just 1 page. It looks like it's a news article. Or something along those lines. So we'll go through that, discuss if there's anything to discuss, and then we can call it an early stream. Maybe if Johnny is streaming, we can all head over there. I have no idea how to raid from YouTube. I think you have to set something up, and I don't know if I'm allowed to do, I don't think I'm cool enough to do that yet. I don't think I've got enough subscribers. But Yeah, we'll do this, have our discussion, and then we can all go run over to Johnny and yell raid in his chat. Sounds like a good plan. Linda says I could run in 6-inch heels, but couldn't even walk in platforms. Isn't that strange, eh? I've been told that by a few women, that heels are easier than platforms. I would have thought platforms because at least, I mean, they're tall, but at least they're solid. Um, but yeah, and I've seen just recently, I've seen some women walking in high heels in the sand, like on a beach. Absolutely insane, these women. Oh, hello, Cynthia. You're here. You're just driving to an appointment. Rock on. Shenny says, I'm game for that, even without being able to be forwarded. That works. All right. So, chapter 8, one page says, Are the sheep ready to shear? This is Oklahoma HB 1750 test case for the police state. So, Gary North recently wrote about one of the scariest pieces of socialistic police state legislation to arrive on the scene to date. On January 1st, 1991, a new 96-page state law goes into effect. HB 1750 passed last year, 1989. It requires all Oklahoma residents to declare everything they own to the tax collector, everything. Guns, coins, art collections, furniture, business equipment, bank accounts, household furniture, etc. Forms will be distributed through banks. Any taxpayer who refuses to fill out the form and submit it to the tax assessor by March 15th, the Ides of March, that's why I was thinking that's kind of an odd date to choose, especially for tax stuff. Any taxpayer who refuses to fill out the form and submit it to the tax assessor by March 15th, the Ides of March, will be visited by an assessor. He will ask permission to enter the home or place of business. If this request is denied, he will be issued a search warrant. Any property not previously listed or undervalued will be assessed a penalty of up to 20% its market value. This will make renters into property taxpayers and make life easy for the gun grabbers. What are the investment implications of this? Invest in a good gun and be standing on your porch with gun in hand when they pay you a visit. It's clear where the tax collectors are headed next. Oklahoma will be the test case. If they can pull this one off, the other states will follow. Big Brother wants to know all and to tax all. Eventually, the New World Order will eliminate all private property to redistribute the wealth, and this inventory will tell them how much exists and exactly where it is stored. Of course, the Oklahoma tax assessor will share its information with other federal and state agencies. Will they get away with this blatant disregard for civil and constitutional rights? That is exactly the reason for the law, to find out if it will meet with strong or violent opposition. If the citizens of Oklahoma lie down and allow this to happen, then you can bet everyone else in the nation is going to be subjected to the same or a similar law. It is time to stand up with a weapon and scream, enough. It is time to draw the line. It is time to make decisions and carry them out. It is time to resist any and at any and all cost. The penalty for failing to do so is slavery. It is not time for rebellion. It is time for restoration. The Constitution must be again, as it once was, the supreme law of the land. Federalism is treason. Stand up and fight. And that's it. So Gary North wrote, or no, he wrote about that. Okay. So we don't want to blame Gary for that piece of legislation. We want to thank Gary North for having brought that to public scrutiny, public attention. But yeah, that's funny because that's how they do it in Canada. They try and pass it. They use whatever obscure language they can and throw it into the middle of bills and stuff and see if they can pass it, and see just how the citizenry will react. I mean, that's what COVID-19 was, oh my goodness, now I'm going to get the medical misinformation thing down below. But that's what it was. COVID was a test. They wanted to see just how much control they had over the sheeple around the world. They wanted to see, because each of the different governments they're all working to a same goal, but they're coming at it from different avenues and different perspectives. It's interesting. People can't understand how Australia allowed what happened to happen during COVID. But they're all testing different parts of the same big plan. Cat fur. But they're all implementing different parts of the same plan. And COVID was a test. They wanted to see just how far they could push the sheeple, and they saw. And now they know, and they can go ahead with the next step in the plan. I don't know what their next step is, but we can be sure it's going to happen. The rights we did lose during COVID will not be given back to us. I think near the end, there was enough people aware of what was really going on that we've set their timeline back a few years, but not a whole lot. They just need some more of the boomers to die off. They need to get more of us Gen Xers out of positions where we could affect change. So yeah, we may have won a few more years, but it won't be long before the next big thing happens, whether it's a natural disaster, another pandemic, a war, an attack. Who knows what it will be, but there will be another one, and they'll just keep taking, because that's what they do. Household furniture, does that include food? It definitely includes futons. I think specifically futons that have gorilla milk on them. I think they get taxed at a higher bracket. Pretty sure. Oh, that's the other problem. I stirred up all the cat fur and the dust and everything, and now it's floating. AP says, no, my roommate brought the plague home from his work with a compromised immune system. I get whatever people have instantly. Yeah, I do understand that. I love hanging out with the little ones because they get me all kinds of sick, but it does help me. I've got mine is not compromised. It is weak, but it is not compromised. Thank God. There's, that's one thing I wouldn't want to have to deal with. That's tough. My stepsister has a compromised immune system, and yeah, it can be really, really bad. Shani and Sammy are laughing at each other. Yeah, it won't be the same the next test. It'll be something else. I mean, we saw 9/11 was a test, and it was a costly test, but it also made a lot of people money. And the people who made the money don't really care about the cost of actual human life. So I don't think the next test will be a pandemic. It's too soon for that. I think there's going to be another major attack on a Western country. Honestly, I don't want it to be true, but from everything I'm seeing, that's my guess. We're going to have another 9/11 type event. Won't necessarily be planes into buildings, but it will be a terrorist attack of some sort, in my opinion. And I don't know if it'll be necessarily America. It just has to be big enough to shake the world, and it has to be in one of the Western countries. Linda says, I wasn't into sports, but I had to wear dresses a lot, and Mom said ladies look nicer in very high heels. As a tomboy, I played tag at church, so I learned to run in them, despite it not being lady. Ah, I see. That's funny. I always had sneakers on. I was a tomboy that was allowed to be a tomboy. So my mom never put me in heels, ever. I don't even think she wore heels, honestly. And Sammy's laughing. AP says, mine's hyperactive. So when I don't have my therapy, the immune system starts to eat your CNS. Okay. I'm not sure whether hers is hyper or hypo. I just know that she catches anything and everything. And she's got a few autoimmune diseases that she's fighting at the same time. So it makes for not a lot of fun. But she's doing really awesome. And they had there were 6-inch heels that were tennis shoes too. Really? Sneaker heels? Weird. I don't know if I'm okay with that. What I'm picturing is like a pair of Vans with a stiletto. And a pair of high top Vans with a stiletto attached. I don't know. Yeah, Sammy's saying you would, Jenny. Fair enough. But with all that being said, this was a quickie. So CMJ, you asked what the average length of the stream is. It can be anywhere from an hour to 3 hours. Depends on the info in the chapter and how much discussion we have. But on that note, this was really great. Welcome to the other half of my home. You may or may not see this part again, but it was fun anyways. Yeah, I know, AP. It's not fun. It really isn't. See, now the wonderful thing about our community is we've all got health issues, which is why we're all able to be hanging out in a chat room online during the day. But also because of that, we tend to be so far apart, we can't meet up in person. Because, I think it would be really great if we can occasionally reach out and give a real hug, But at least we've got these chats. So when we're having crap times, we can at least talk to people about it and have people who understand. So that's really great. Because, my family were like me. We were told for the first 30 years of my life that I was making it up and I was lying. And that was all in my head. So now we're 45 years into my life and 15 years with a diagnosis, a few different diagnoses. And my family still treats me like I'm faking it, like I'm lying, like I'm making it up. And it's not like they're doing it to be hateful or hurtful, but that's our lives, right? So, oh, right. Halloween. Oh, my goodness. Yes, Halloween is coming up super fast. We need to talk, Shenny. Are we doing it on Halloween, which is a Thursday? Or are we going to do it the weekend before or the weekend after? I'm actually going to get paid to do some Halloween costumes for some friends who are going to go out. So, yay, I will take pictures and I will show you because that's going to be cool. AP, normally I work in chat, just had to call off today. And there are those days. We're going to have those days. But I was saying to MJ at the beginning of the stream too, a lot of people tend to work and listen to me while they're working. So I guess it's a decent cadence. But on that note, love you all. Don't forget to go to, you know what I should do? I should do it myself and drop the link, and then we can all click on it at the same time. There we go. I think we all know who Johnny is and just where to find him, but let me pretend to be a professional streamer. So now, once you finish listening to my end song and you say goodbye to everyone, let's all raid Johnny, because he's a really awesome guy. So we go there. Did that work? Oh, it did work. My thing was in the way. Oh, Sammy got there first. Thank you. Your link might work better. I don't know why. Mine looks different from yours. But either way, one of those two will work. So there you go. On that note, folks, I'll see you next time. Have a good one.
Something's changed from day to day. Science, art, or history's play. No path too twisted, no trail too thin. She dives right in where to begin. Nothing too obscure. She'll dig and take a spirit so pure. From ancient lore to future dreams, every question finds its gleam.